And welcome to the Investment and Strategy Committee meeting of March 18th. On this committee is myself, who's acting chair, Councillor Bressie, who is the chair but is online, and Mayor Clayton, as well as Councillor O'Connor. We do have, I will ask for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to move that council, just 1 second, lost my place. Council adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you for that motion. I'll call a question. And that motion does carry. We do have a delegation today, so I will ask the delegation to join us at the center table and introduce yourselves. And you have about 5 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll open it up for council questions. So please go ahead. The mics come on automatically.
My name is Andrzej Podolski, and I'd like to thank for your time, Honorable Mayor and the City Councillors. I'd just like to give a little bit of a background why this project we have on our agenda, and I try to make this as quickly as possible. But last summer, my business partner, Greg, have mentioned to me that Grande Prairie is in desperation for apartments. I kind of brushed that off because I felt we're okay. You know, we don't need to make any other investments in the city. Until about 3 weeks later, a couple of gentlemen walk into our establishment, a retail store, and they have during the conversation asked if I know of any apartments or any place that could be rented in Grande Prairie. At that moment, I said no, but if you leave me your phone number, I'll be happy to let you know if something comes up. And so 2 weeks later, I give him a call because we found a basement suite that they could potentially rent, but they were already moved on and to another city. So it made me realize that Grande Prairie is really in need for a project as such as multifamily housing. And at that moment, Greg have convinced me that this is a good idea. So we've acquired a piece of land, and then out of the 3 pieces that were available in the Pinnacle Ridge, there was 3 pieces of land from 3 acres to 8 acres. So we've selected the smallest one, and I didn't know beforehand, but they were sitting on the market for the last probably 20 years. So we've arranged some meetings and talked to some of the builders who have virtually built Grande Prairie with their subdivisions, asking them, you know, if they're planning to do any apartment buildings, and they have mentioned that they're not interested in apartments because the rents will have to be over $2,000 in order for them to consider any projects as such. So I was a little bit in disbelief that this is not a viable investment, and we have further went to design a building on that property and eventually start doing some cost analysis. So when we came to the realization how expensive it is to build nowadays, we realized that this project is not viable, especially that it is over $30 million. And the reason why it is so large is because we learned from the city that there was no, on this particular property, there was no limits as for, there was some limits that you could do up to 90 units on that piece of land. We learned that you can go even up to 200 units. So that was a big surprise to us. So we've, with the help of the engineers, they said, you know what, just maximize the property and go up to 166 units. So basically, that's what we did, and that's why the huge cost. And we are in a position right now where we'd love to do something because we know there is a huge need for Grande Prairie, but at the same time, we think that I never thought that we would be partnering up with the city of Grande Prairie because we've been doing business here for the last 38 years and always do a business and pay the taxes. But in order for that project to be able to be viable, we need some assistance from the city to make it move forward, especially if we're expecting projects such as the one presented by Mr. I forgot his name, but he proposed a project south of Grande Prairie, which will require thousands of people to be moving in here to build that. And I think without this source of people, I don't think that will ever move forward. I think that's all the time I will allow myself. Go ahead, Greg.
My name is Greg Podolsky. I'd just like to add a few things. Anjay articulated kind of our thoughts and feelings pretty well. But since we last spoke, I just kind of wanted to make you aware of some changes in, I guess, our business model for this new apartment. In the last 2 weeks, we've been trying to kind of solidify our contractors. And what we found, feedback-wise, is that the contractors are no longer willing to hold prices. In fact, many of them have already increased prices in anticipation that the cost of their building materials will increase. So our new model suggests that our building construction price is going to increase by at least 5 to 10%. So that goalpost that we had before has moved again. At this point, our belief is that it'll take years for Grande Prairie to reach the point of rent that justifies these types of projects. And I'm talking about projects that are of substantial size. This one has 166 units. I know there's others that are closer to 200, and who knows if there's others as well. But any developer that is of the caliber that can handle these type of investments counts the cost. If it doesn't make sense, they will not move forward. And based on the numbers that we see, Grande Prairie is just not ready for those type of developments. There's other communities and municipalities which are more profitable, and I believe that's where the investment is going to move. So we're just asking you today to really consider the gravity, I guess, of what you're going to be considering. Businesses are already incentivized to develop here. We've got the 10-year progressive taxation increases, which they can take advantage of. Those businesses are far more profitable than apartment buildings. Apartment buildings rely on that 50-year amortization, which is just completely insane. If you really think about it, if we were to construct that building today, it won't be paid off till I'm in my 80s. That is an incredible amount of time. My children will be close to retirement age. So just really think about those details. We really ask that you don't brush it off. Let's work together to make sure that investment dollars that are here today stay in Grande Prairie. They might not be here even a few months from now. So I'm really hoping that we can do something to help this. The last thing I want to see is a repeat of what's happened in the past 20 years in previous administrations, where I've lived here long enough to see commercial development move from Grande Prairie city limits to outside Grande Prairie city limits, because any investor loves decreased cost, and I guess money flows where there's least obstacles and least resistance. So that's all we ask is to really consider this, and we thank you for your time. So that's it.
Maybe just 30 more seconds I'd like to add to it. Like we have the land and we can move forward with building some duplexes, or fourplexes, but if we do like 4 1 year, 4 in the next year, it'll take 20 years before we have 80 units available for rent in the city, or else we go full force. But at the same time, we don't want to give up or put at risk 43 years of working in this community, to go poof if something goes wrong. Because right now we're facing COVID, but not the real COVID, the financial COVID. That every day we hear from the news that there is something happening, that it's causing people to be in distress. Even this morning, I hear the farmers with canola, they're losing $100 a ton on their product. They might be shutting down. So we are all under that conditions, and we'd like to move forward with this project, but we need to partner up with the city because, at this moment, the city will generate $13,000 in taxes from that property being empty. But if we do move that project, within 5 years, we're already going to be generating $60,000 in 6 years, $90,000, and so on and so forth, up to $300,000 or $400,000. We don't know where would that be at the time. But I think it's partnering up with, without city investment, us putting all the risk into the picture, but then city benefiting shortly after, 4 or 5 years and so on. That's all.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Podolsky and Mr. Podolsky. Council does take this matter very seriously, and as you know, in the last time you came before us, we did ask our administration to take time to present some options to us. The suggestion sheet that you have provided with your delegation, of course, has been received by administration, and I'm sure will be included in any of the options they bring forward. I'm not at this time seeing any questions online. All of our council members for this committee are online today, except for myself. And so I think we'll thank you for coming in and be confident that we have heard your concerns. We do realize that that tariff situation is going to increase costs, and we will be coming forward very shortly with how we think we should be approaching this matter. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the service area update, and I would look for Chief Whiteway to provide that update.
Thank you, Chair Blackmore. So first off, I'll start in with our Community Connections Department. So there is a new museum exhibit called 120 Years of Strong and Free. This exhibit celebrates Alberta's 120th anniversary and highlights the history of settlement in the Peace region. It includes many hands-on activities for children and a wide assortment of Alberta memorabilia and souvenirs. The softer opening has currently began, and official opening will be in May on International Museum Day. In addition, staff this week are attending a sport event Congress in Calgary. This is where they will meet with national sport organizations to identify future sport hosting opportunities for the city. In Invest Grande Prairie, the team and Councillor O'Toole visited Apex Security to celebrate 20 years in business. Founded in Grande Prairie, they've grown to 150 employees, 3 city locations, and expanded across Alberta and BC. Congratulations to Apex and their team. This past week, Invest Grande Prairie, alongside our Invest Northwest partners and other Alberta municipalities, took a Team Alberta approach at the World Agritech Conference to strengthen connections and explore investment opportunities in agritech. The event provided key insights into emerging technologies and industry trends, supporting growth and innovation across our region and the province. 9 new business licenses were issued in the city from March 3rd to 13th. 7 were commercial and 2 were home-based. InvestGP participated in Alberta Health Refocus engagement sessions held in Grande Prairie, where the team learned further where the team learned the province's healthcare reorganization. So more information, on the province's healthcare reorganization. Invest Grande Prairie, as well, alongside Council, is hosting an industry-focused mixer on March 25th, bringing together businesses in energy, forestry, and agriculture. This event offers an opportunity to connect, network, and showcase the region's opportunities. Our communications teams have put out a number of various announcements in the past few weeks, keeping residents updated on snow clearing, as well as highlighting the applications being open for community group funding, and as well as highlighting upcoming events such as State of the City, as well as Aging Well Together, and congratulations to the Women of Influence Award recipients. Finally, our legislative and executive service team have been hard at work with elections planning. New information regarding election workers has been added to the city's website, and we encourage everyone to consider participating as an elections worker. More details will be forthcoming in the spring. Intergov participated in AB Muni's Spring Leaders Caucus and Mid-Size Mayors Caucus events in Edmonton, strengthening relationships with other municipalities and government members. And finally, a reminder that the 2025 State of the City event is happening on March 25th, 2025. Ticket sales are extended until March 20th, and event proceedings will be available on the city's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Whiteway. I'm looking online and I see no hands popping up. So I have one question myself. I have in my calendar that South Peace Regional Archives annual general meeting is scheduled for April 5th at Center 2000. That would be normally in your report?
Thank you for the question. I'd have to confirm that date if that was the question, but...
That is the date.
Sorry, April
5th.
5th. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, I'm going to go back to Chief Whiteway to introduce the 2022 to 2025 Strategic Priorities Report.
Thank you again, Chair Blackmore. So as we do on a quarterly basis, administration does update Council on the progress of the strategic priorities as outlined for Council's term. So Ms. Bilodeau is here to present that report.
Great to see you here, Ms. Bilodeau. Go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you, Acting Chair Blackmore. So today I'm pleased to present the 2022 to 2025 Q4 2024 Progress Report, which provides a detailed update on project statuses, completion percentages, and timelines of the projects and initiatives set out by Council at the beginning of their term. As you review the report, please note that the information reflects the status as of December 31st, 2024, and any new developments since that time will be captured in the Q1 2025 report. So looking at key updates from Q4, one significant project was successfully completed, that being the establishment of a new intermunicipal development plan in partnership with the County of Grande Prairie. So the updated IDP marks a significant step in coordinated land use and infrastructure planning, fostering sustainable development while aligning the shared vision of both municipalities. Two initiatives were put on hold during this quarter. One being the covered outdoor spaces. So this item was not funded during Council's budget deliberations in November, and as a result, it has been placed on hold and will remain on hold until this item is brought forward by Council and a funding source is identified. The second initiative put on hold is the housing strategy. On December 20th, 2024, the province announced a change to its Housing with Supports funding model. Under this new approach, funding will go directly to frontline service providers instead of through a single community-based organization, which previously was the City of Grande Prairie. City administration will need some time to fully understand this new funding model and how it impacts the development of a housing strategy. So work on this priority still continues with ongoing discussions with the province to clarify next steps. We do anticipate that this initiative will be updated in Q1 2025, likely reflecting its return to active progress. Administration continues to work towards completing the remaining projects and initiatives, and will of course continue to report back to committee following the end of each quarter. Once the Q4 progress update is approved by Council, it will be made available on the city's website for public access. And with that, I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Bilodeau. I see that Mayor Clayton has her hand up.
Thanks for that, Chair Blackmore. Just regarding your comments on housing strategy be on hold, I don't know if that's the correct term. There was still advocacy work being done. Council is still prioritized multifamily, which is part of our housing strategy, including incentives in permitting. We've done significant work in regards to secondary suites. So I would say that rather than it being on hold, it's ongoing. The funding through the province, although, as you mentioned, is pivoted, and we do know that we weren't successful in rapid housing dollars, but I would say that it's fair to say that this is still a priority of Council and that it's ongoing, not on hold. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Mayor Clayton. I don't see anyone else's hand going up on the committee. I'm looking around the room with Councillor Thiessen and Councillor Berg. I see no hand going up. So I would look to committee for a motion. Councillor Barassi.
Happy to make that motion. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just happy to move that committee recommend Council accept this for information.
That motion is in order, so I will call a question.
Sorry, I do have, I would like to see the report amended to reflect that housing strategy is ongoing, not on hold. So, Chair Barassi, if you could take that as a friendly. If not, I'll make a motion to amend it.
Happy to make that motion as well.
Thanks.
Yep. So as amended.
Okay, so the committee recommends that Council accept this as amended, and the question is called, so please vote. Councillor Barassi, you're
in favor.
Yeah. Thank you. That was carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Bilodeau. So we will move on to item 7, bylaw and policy review, number 7.1, policy 206, rescindment, and I would look to Chief Whiteway for an introduction.
Thank you, Chair Blackmore. I'll present the whole report and then take some questions from committee after. Essentially, the recommendation today is that committee recommend Council rescind policy 206, policy on the arts. Upon review, administration had noted that it's been over 20 years since this policy itself had been looked at, and a number of new policies and procedures have been developed since then. So it was determined that this policy has become redundant, and we have streamlined our framework to include other policies that would capture the information found in this one. So rescinding this policy is a strategic move to eliminate redundancy, streamline our policy framework, and it reflects the city's ongoing efforts to maintain an efficient and relevant set of guiding documents. As a result, administration is recommending that Council policy 206 is rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Whiteway. I see Councillor O'Connor has his hand up. Councillor O'Connor, you are muted.
Okay. Thank you. If there's nobody else that'd like to move this business, I'd like to move committee recommend Council rescind policy 206, policy on the arts.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. That motion is in order. However, Councillor Thiessen does have something to say. Not sure if it's a question or not.
Well, thank you very much for entertaining me here, Chair Blackmore. I actually have a couple questions because I don't know if this is a policy that should just get rescinded, because upon further investigation of the policies that were attached to it and where the redundancies are captured, I don't actually see the redundancies. So my question, how has the city's strategy concerning the arts evolved? Is my first question.
Through the chair, I believe Ms. Bieberdorf is online. If she could take this question.
Ms. Bieberdorf was online, and I don't see her now. Maybe she dropped off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I just can't see. Yeah,
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So what we have done is put a lot of the arts, public art and processes within the Community Advisory Committee. So we have an administrative policy that manages public art, and it goes through that committee. And then when it comes to using the public art reserve, that's now captured under the Community Enhancement Fund. So we are still working on art and public art. It's just done through an administrative policy and procedure.
Okay, no, thank you for that, Ms. Bieberdorf. Yeah, so I was looking over Policy 361, which is our Community Enhancement Fund policy. The first question that I thought was, what if a council in the future cancels that fund? And that's not really there. But then as I looked further into the policy, I didn't actually see anything around art in the actual new policy 361. I saw around public artwork, but I didn't see anything about the arts, dancing, music, painting, all that other stuff, festivals, the gallery. I didn't see any reference to that. So I went further and I went into our recreation and culture strategy, which was also here. And in a 96-page document, we have 2 pictures of people partaking in the arts. I think one is a pottery picture and the other is I think people working on painting, and then there's a third one that's just people standing out front of the Center for Creative Arts. You see Center Creative, but it doesn't really imply art. And going through the document, I didn't really see a lot of, I guess you could say, references to the arts. I guess references a lot to recreation, and that art can be a recreation sort of thing. But I really couldn't find any redundancies. And for council, I believe this policy was made on one of Councillor Blackmore's previous council terms. But this policy sets the stage for everything else that follows. So we as the governance head say art is important, and it's very clearly laid out here. The reason for the policy, 206, the purpose of this policy is to recognize the value and importance of the arts to the community, establish the municipal role with respect to the development of the arts in Grande Prairie, and provide a framework within which the City of Grande Prairie can support and stimulate development of the arts to its full potential. And above that, there's a whole bunch of points on how we could do that. So seeing that there is no policy here that states the importance of arts to the organization of the City of Grande Prairie in this place, I guess my question is where do we really go from here? When we're creating this, this sort of informs the next strategy. It informs the next policy. It informs our administrative policy that I couldn't find here either. And I really think that this is a slippery slope. I know it's a simple thing. The arts are important to the City of Grande Prairie. Well, I believe that the arts are important to the City of Grande Prairie. In fact, I'm sitting here, and Councillor Berg is sitting here because we were very involved with the arts in Grande Prairie. But I don't see how this is a redundancy. So I guess my question for Ms. Bieberdorf, after that long preamble to it, is where do we go from here? As far as once we get rid of this policy, if I were to state to somebody, go check out this policy, I'll tell you how important dance is to the community. Is policy 361 going to do that? And I guess my question is why wouldn't we just consider amending policy 206 instead of just rescinding it? We could update it, and that's why policy exists. So why are we contemplating rescinding versus amending?
Thank you, Chair Blackmore. So we were looking to rescind this policy because we feel that a lot of the information is captured in the administrative policy, but certainly open to whatever council's direction is on this if they'd like to see us amend this policy. The festival funding that you spoke to and some of the other grant funds that are available are captured under the administrative policy, but if you would like to see it as part of the council policy, certainly happy to do that, or to amend the community enhancement policy to include some of the language that's in this current policy.
Is it possible for council to be able to see the administrative policy? Because I couldn't find that online. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm just raising a big stink in my own head here, but I couldn't find it. Is there an opportunity for council to be able to look at that? Because typically policy is handled by governance, right? And council is elected to govern. and the policies are set by council. So I don't know why council...
I'm going to interrupt you, Councillor Thiessen, because I think that you are arguing a motion that will come before council, and that's where your argument needs to be, as you don't sit on this committee. I think you've given the committee and administration some pretty good idea of where your argument's going to go next Monday. But I think that you are, in fact, arguing a motion that you don't have the right to argue at this point in time.
That's fair.
And Councillor Berg, you did indicate you had a question. I don't know if you still do.
Yeah, quite simply, I was going to say I haven't done the deep dive that Councillor Thiessen has, but I was going to raise some similar concerns at the next council meeting. So since you'd mentioned me, I thought I would just jump in quickly with that.
Okay, thank you. We do have a motion on the floor. Councillor O'Connor, your hand is up. Is that still from the previous motion that you made?
I'm listening to the other people. I'm wondering if we shouldn't just table this to council rather than rescind it to allow the other members to have conversation.
Sorry, there's no motion to rescind, Councillor O'Connor. The motion is to send this to council. But the motion is to send this for council to consider to rescind it.
Okay, so they're not rescinding it right now. It just goes to council.
Right.
Okay, so I'll leave it as is.
Councillor Bressie.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I don't think I'll actually be voting in favor of sending this to council. I actually do. I appreciate Councillor Thiessen raising that. I'd love to see committee ask administration to do some work on this policy so we can bring an amended policy to council rather than send this to council for rescindment. So totally get if my colleagues want to send this to council that discussion, but I don't personally feel comfortable supporting that at this time.
Seeing no other comments or questions, I'm going to call the motion. And that motion is defeated, so we will send it back to administration for some more work.
Sorry, Chair Blackmore, can I make a subsequent motion?
I guess so. That is the law.
Just to make it clear to administration that I also really do appreciate administration bringing this forward, and it is really, as I'm looking at this policy, it is clearly an outdated policy that really does need, if we're not going to rescind it, does need significant revision. It references things that aren't relevant anymore, so I do want to do some work on it. So I would move that committee direct administration to bring forward revisions to policy number 206 that reflect current practices and policy frameworks.
That motion is in order. Councillor O'Connor, you have your hand up. Did you want to speak to that motion?
I will take my hand down and let it proceed.
Okay, there is no hands up, so I will call that question. And that motion does carry. We'll move on to the outstanding items list on the agenda and go back to Chief Whiteway.
Thank you, Chair Blackmore. No changes to that list as presented.
Okay, I'll look for a motion to accept that as presented. Councillor Bressie?
Yeah, happy move is we accept the outstanding items list.
That motion is in order. I'll call a question. And that does carry. So that will conclude the Investment and Strategy Committee meeting for today. And the next meeting up is the Finance meeting. And so I will take about a 3-minute break.